it's not necessarily that like journaling itself is magical, but it's more this, you're taking 15, 20, 30 minutes to just give uninterrupted time with your mind. It's really just you can't be on social media, you can't be watching something else or listening to a podcast. It just allows you to really just like take the full power of your mind and direct it towards like one question or one topic. And one of the ones that you talk about in the book is, I think it's looking back from your 100-year-old self and just starting with something like, I want you to know that, and then just allow it to come out. And that's what I'm so excited. I was going to do it this morning and didn't have time, so I'm going to do it this afternoon because that seems like such a powerful one.
Oh, it's incredibly powerful. I was thinking about this last night, Chris. I was actually thinking to myself, and I talk about this in the book too, and some folks might think it's morbid. I think it's inspiring and it's reality, just realizing like, oh, wow, you know what? One day it's going to be like, this was the day that Marie Forleo died. And God, I'm hoping I can last to 120. So I'm, not wanting that day to come anytime soon, but this notion to build on that exercise, it's like imagining yourself at 95 or 100, or imagining yourself like you're kind of wrapping it up, right? You're almost on to your next cosmic adventure. And we all have the power to do that through our imagination and going like, gosh, what do I think back and wish I had told my younger self? My mom, who's amazing, she's in her 70s. She's such a great touchstone for me because she's always telling me, she's like, Marie, I'm telling you, I'm ahead of you. Here's the lessons. I need you to do X, Y, and Z now. And she's funny and she's hilarious. But to your point about journaling, a couple things. One, many of us don't know truly what we think about something until we investigate it, challenge it, and write it down. And I found for myself that sometimes I uncover deeper insights and different perspectives that I couldn't get to simply in my head. I think what you also shared, the fact that you're undistracted, you're not consuming anything else. This is the second point I wanted to make. Here's the power of journaling. It's not necessarily about a diary. It's about an opportunity to really keep checking in with who you are and who you want to be. And if there's any challenges that you have in your life, it's an opportunity between you and you to start to solve them. And what else is great about it is it trains you to create before you consume. That's a notion that I'm excited to build out more in our culture that is so about inputs, television, social, email. There's so much information coming at us. People have the ratio flipped these days. They're consuming and they're like, I don't have any time for my business, or I don't have any time to make that book or that podcast or whatever the thing is they want to create in the world, even if it's wanting to create a stronger body or a healthier mind or more connected relationships. If you start to play with the directive, create before you consume, you can do it in your journal, everything shifts. All of a sudden, you're not necessarily a consumer, you're a producer. And that's a very powerful shift to make.
And how does that tie into the refusing to be refused? Because that, especially with all the obstacles a lot of people are facing right now, it's like you can't just rest on what, if you get a no immediately. So how do you push through that? And I loved the story about the office space that you were going for to try to film your videos on and hit some resistance, but then push through that.
Oh yeah, I'll tell the quick version of that because I know we're coming up on time. But I remember there was this point in our development, probably, 7, 8, 9 years ago, where we were shooting our show. We were kind of like a traveling carnival. We would always try and find these spaces in New York to shoot in. I run a virtual company, so everyone's distributed, right? We don't have an HQ necessarily. And so trying to find photo studios that also didn't have like a music video being shot, because then the audio's off and you can't shoot videos while there's all this music happening. And we said, okay, well, what if we got our own studio in New York City? Now, I'd never shopped around for commercial real estate, but as a New Yorker myself, I was like, this ain't going to be easy and it's not going to be cheap. It's going to be very expensive. And I remember going to all these dingy places, Chris, where I was like, my goodness, how can they be charging this kind of rent for this crap hole, right? I was like, this is horrible. Until one day, I stumbled upon this space in the Flatiron district that was absolutely perfect. It had big windows, big open space, wonderful location, which happened to be a block away from my favorite karaoke joint. I'm like, this is heaven. This is awesome. And so I was so excited. And I told my real estate agent, I said, hey, let's put in an offer for the place. And it basically didn't go well. So I got notice back that there was another tech company that they wanted to give the space to. And that's all they said. And they said, Marie, you kind of lost that. And Chris, I was like, I can't let this space go. I had seen like dozens of other spaces that were horrible. And so I just took it upon myself and I said, I'm going to write a letter. I want to do everything that I possibly can. So they refused me, but I'm going to write a letter just telling them what I would do with the space, how it would be amazing. Can I get it? Is there any possibility, any shot I can have an option at this lease? And I remember walking back to the space and I saw the gentleman who had showed it to me, who was this guy named Patrick. He was the building super. He kind of remembered me and I was like, Patrick, listen, I heard that there's an option on the space already, but I have a letter. Is there any way you can get it to the owner's management company? It's just like, you're my only shot. And I don't think Patrick, who's a sweetheart, he's like not used to someone being that direct, just walking up to him on the street. And he said, okay, I'll take it. And I was like, can you call the owner right now from your cell phone and tell them that I'm here? And again, I was being kind, but definitely very directive on what I wanted. And, Patrick called the owner and the owner was not happy getting this call out of the blue. And then nothing happened. A few days went by and I thought, Chris, you know what? I lost that one. I'm going to have to move on. It's fine. We'll find another space. And then a few days later, I get an email from my broker and it was like, Marie, that tech company, the lease fell through. The owner read your letter. He wants to meet with you. And I was like, yes, it was awesome. And I found out that essentially the owners didn't understand what I did as a virtual business. They thought the tech company was like more of a stable company. And meanwhile, Chris, I had the most rock solid financials, but it's just an example of, when people don't understand things, they don't really get it. But sometimes you can't take no for an answer. And we wound up getting that space and getting that lease. And the studio has become like one of our most favorite places to create magic when we're able to. But it was really another example of, sometimes people will say no. A lot of times people will say no in your creative journey. And their saying no doesn't have to be your reality. Now, you never want to be aggressive. You don't want to be inappropriate. But there are creative ways to continue either to ask or to move forward or to find another way. But it comes down to that inner resolve to not let someone else's no be your ultimate reality.
Did you like what you just saw? Well, great, because our YouTube channel is chock full of tips on how to grow your online business and learn from the best in the industry. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss out. And if you're looking for the absolute best software for entrepreneurs at the lowest possible price, then you should absolutely head over to appsumo.com and subscribe to our email list. Heck, we'll even throw in 10% off your first order just to make it a no-brainer. Now, you're in on one of the best kept secrets in software.